All right, everybody. I have no real plan, no real script, and I have no idea how long this is going to go. I just wanted to come on here, talk some Orioles, and have some fun. Because now, to me, trade deadline's coming up. The Orioles have played some pretty good baseball. Give me 1 second. They played some pretty good baseball lately. And I think a lot of that has to do with the lineup getting healthy. You know, we are probably the most impressive, or one of the most impressive teams that is 8 games under 500 in quite some time. You know, Charlie Morton's pitching so much better since he turned things around. Since the start of his season, he's looking like the pitcher that we signed him to be. And honestly, that is probably going to make him a huge trade commodity. Because he could help a contending ball club that is heading to the playoffs. Do I think it is impossible that the Orioles make a run in the American League? No, it's not impossible because, let's face it, the American League hasn't been all that good as of late. Or so far in 2025. Matter of fact, if you were to ask me, I think whoever comes out of the American League is probably going to get rolled in the World Series by whoever comes out of the National League. If we're being honest. Now, you have to wonder with the Orioles if they could have had any kind of quality health, what this team could be. I mean, we are what? On our 5th or 6th string catcher? Now, me personally, I would have rather had Jacob Stallings from day one over Gary Sanchez. I think he would have. I always tend to lean in the direction of let's get the defensive guy as the backup catcher. And Stallings, while Stallings probably wasn't available, at that time, like I said, I just think Stallings is a better fit for what we need as a backup. Now, injuries aside, Mike Elias is not without blame in this situation. You know, when you look back at the offseason, and I have made this comment in with several fellow Oriole fans, if you look at the free agent pitchers, with the exception of Max Fried, and yes, their fortunes could be different if they were on the Orioles as opposed to where they're at now. Everybody says give up the draft pick, sign Sean Manaea. Sean Manaea hasn't even pitched yet this year for the Mets. Luis Severino. He's the one guy that I think if you put him in a better situation, because obviously he's not enjoying his time in Sacramento. He's just, and I clear he does not want to be there. He was the guy I wanted this offseason. But with, Max Fried, to a lesser extent, Severino, who else was there? Once Corbin Burns, once Arizona got involved with Corbin Burns, he wasn't coming back here. And ironically, Corbin Burns wouldn't be helping us right now because he got hurt. Tragically, sorry to hear that. You know, if the reports are true, we offered him the $45 million a year. He didn't take it. Should we have reallocated that $45 million into some other options besides Kyle Gibson and Charlie Morton? Sure. But it's easy to Monday morning quarterback. I think where the Orioles made their biggest mistake was relying on the Kobe Mayos, the Heston Kjerstads, believing that those guys could step up and replace Santander's productivity. Because that just has not happened. And I really think that, like I said, Elias, while he was okay with letting Santander walk, did not have a strong enough contingency plan for Santander walking. Now, I'm not saying if Santander was here, we wouldn't be 8 games under 500, because we still have pitching holes that we didn't fill. My point is, there wasn't a lot out there to fill it with. Now, hopefully, we can tread water. We're playing the Marlins tonight in 3 games. And then we have a series against the Rockies after the All-Star break. Hopefully, we can catch a little bit of fire and force our way back into this. Now, I see a lot of people criticizing the recent Brian Baker trade, where we traded him for a first-round draft pick. Essentially a first-round draft pick. I believe number 37 in the competitive round. Which, like I said, is essentially a first-round draft pick. Here's my question. Why are you guys criticizing that? All off-season and all through spring training, most of Birdland didn't even want Brian Baker still on this ball club. And now you're complaining that we got a first-round draft pick for a guy who, he's been here with us 2 or 3 years and had one good half season? Okay, draft picks aren't what they are in the NBA and the NFL. You're not going to see the instant impact. But if you took if this was football, and I get, again, realize draft picks are different, but if this was football and Eric DeCosta flipped a defensive player that had a good half season for the Ravens after 2 or 3 years into a first round draft pick, you all would be bowing down to Eric DeCosta. Again, different sports. Realize whoever we take with that pick isn't going to help us for 2 to 3, probably 4 years. But still, you look at the two guys that the fan base was ready to run out of town either via trade or just DFA. Brian Baker, arguably our best reliever all year. Ryan O'Hearn, our only all-star. And everybody was saying, we need to trade him so that we can use Mayo more or use Kjerstad more. Well, how would that have worked out for us? You know, I think fans sometimes need to stop Monday morning quarterbacking and realize that the people that are in these positions know a lot more about baseball on their worst day than we do. It's easy to second guess. Just sit back and enjoy the ride. Sit back and just enjoy the ride. And let's go, birds. I will never stop backing the birds. Anyway, leave some comments. Let me know what you think. See you next time.